This lousy weather right across the whole sector. You can't let things drag on over there, Jack.
Is it a murder?
No, I don't believe so. Walter Jones was already in pretty bad shape. The heart and all the rest of it. So, just a routine check, okay? It's a routine matter, alright? I want to hear death from natural causes, with no stories, you understand? I don't want a crime on my hands right now, seeing my bill of health, understand?
You're the boss, Vic.
Jack?
Of course, I understand.
You're really helping me out here, you know?
Get well, Vic. See you soon.
The weather forecast is awful, Inspector. It's likely to turn into a nightmare in a few hours. Don't drag on. We'll come to get you at 4 p.m.
Okay for 4 p.m. I don't expect to be any later than necessary.
Inspector Norn, welcome to Sagara. I'm Hubert Denault, the attorney, Mr. Jones.
Okay, Mr. Nolan, let's go. I don't have much time.
Are you sure you don't want to take time to settle in? There's a room that's been prepared for you, Inspector Norn.
Unnecessary. If it turns out that Mr. Jones's death was accidental, then I have no reason to hang around here, Mr. Nolan.
I beg you to pardon me for this somewhat acrobatic descent. I had to put this ladder here urgently this morning to access the corpse. Yesterday evening, when I tried to help, poor Walter was stuck higher up in the rocks close to the edge. The waves must have sent the poor man's body rolling toward the bottom during the night. We suffered a terrible storm, you know.
I just have some questions to ask you. What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
In my view, we're looking at a murder. I'm categorical, Inspector. I saw Baena push Walter over the edge. The identity of the culprit is not a matter of question for me.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I was at the restaurant with the guests when Walter left for his walk at around 10 p.m. I went back to my office maybe a quarter of an hour or half an hour later. I had to wait for him, as we had agreed upon in the afternoon. Not seeing him come, I looked out of the window, and that's when I saw what could have been a quarrel between Baena Jumhu and Walter at the Tortoise Belvedere. He fell to the bottom, in his wheelchair. I hurried to help him, but it was raining like mad, and I could not go down to the rocks to get him out of there. He was no longer moving. I think he died instantly. I came back to tell everyone what had happened, and I also immediately called the police.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
I've worked for Walter Jones for over 20 years. Our relationship was always excellent. In fact, he even did me the honor of asking me to call him by his first name. I admired this man immensely, Inspector. I would even say that I had affection for him, and that this was mutual.
Thank you for the information. Nail implanted in the cheek. His attacker wasn't light about it. At first glance, the body doesn't show signs of death by drowning or hypothermia, and this injury on the forehead seems too superficial to have caused the death. It's the forensic expert's job now. It's for him to tell me what killed Walter Jones. need your assistance to clarify certain points. Excuse me. I'll come back to see you.
Hello, Inspector Jack Norm. Welcome to your personal police assistant. Jack, this device was created to help you in your investigations. The goal of the software system is to rationalize the combination of clues, evidence, hypotheses, and deductions, which will allow you to quickly uncover the criminals. For this, your personal police assistant will store all information you will collect about the suspects during your investigations. It will remember their age, gender, and function. The incriminating and exculpatory evidence are also made note of. In addition, it will indicate in real time their geographical position in the surrounding areas where you might need to find them during your investigation. The Clue Manager will centralize all of the information that you have collected, whether it includes photos, documents, material evidence, or even suspects' statements. In your hands, you have more than a motive for matching clues that you will have collected. You also have a great tool for comparing them. This function will be particularly useful for validating the match between two prints, two footprints, or even the relationship between two pieces of an object. You can trust your personal police assistant to validate the correct hypothesis and to keep you from being misled into dead ends. This device includes a third function, which strictly depends on the two others. It is your progress manager. It divides your investigation into a certain number of precise interrogations, like different pieces of a puzzle. Your job becomes a child's game, Jack. When you know how to respond correctly to all of these questions, you will have solved your investigation.
I would do well to ask the attorney for some details.
Ask all the questions you'd like to ask. I'm at your service.
Excuse me. I'll come back to see you. I need you to enlighten me on a point. Tell me, did your boss have a suicidal temperament? Or was he in the habit of taking unreasonable risks? Or was he in fragile health? Could it be that following severe medical treatment he suffered from dizziness and fainting spells? What more can I say? You have to tell me everything, Mr. Noland.
No, Inspector. Physically and mentally, Walter Jones was as solid as a rock. He only suffered from a paralysis of the lower limbs, but nothing that could explain this mortal fall.
I'll take note of it.
I'm awfully sorry, but I've got things to do.
Excuse me, I am distracted. I have what I need. See you later. First, I have to transmit my conclusions to Reeves as quickly as possible.
No, Inspector. Physically and mentally, Walter Jones was as solid.
Is Walter Jones's death accidental? The death of Walter Jones seems to be criminal.
Reeves, it's Jack. The forensic expert's gonna have work. The death seems suspicious. A fall from a few meters that leaves scratches and an embedded nail in the face? It's not all that clear, you understand?
Jack, if it's like you said, I'm afraid you'll have to prolong your stay. Sorry. I didn't want to impose this on you. You have carte blanche to confirm this. Good luck.
I'm awfully sorry, but I've got things to do.
Do you know anything about medicine?
No, I don't know anything about medicine.
In that case, you can't help me.
What do you say about it, Inspector?
Your boss was murdered.
Well, I guess this list will be useful. It has the identities of all the people who currently reside on the island. And here's the key to your room. Because now I suppose you're going to be staying a while. I remain at your disposition, Inspector. Especially to give you a tour of the tower. It's huge, you know.
Thanks. I think I can manage.
Fine, I'll leave you then. See you later, Inspector.
Ah, here we are. Something interesting. Seemingly, Walter Jones was not alone the moment he had his great fall. The wheelchair made a chaotic journey before falling off the cliff. Walter Jones must have hit himself here against this rock. There's a piece missing on the armrest. I need some graphite powder to take this print. The architect must have some drawing material. I could make myself some. To what does this piece of cloth belong? Even more footprints. There were 2 people following Jones that evening.
I'm happy to see you here, Sonia.
Me too, Lorenzo. It's a pleasure to see you.
I would have preferred that we see each other in other circumstances.
You don't always have the choice.
Did your grandfather's death affect you deeply?
I don't know. I just can't believe it.
I had problems because of him. But they all went away after his tragic death. In the end, Jones was a good man.
Yes, certainly. I don't know what to think.
Would you like to change the subject?
No, not specially. Just a little off, that's all.
The sky is melancholic. Like us, Sonia.
It's true. Perfect weather for a burial.
Good morning. I'm Inspector Jack Norm. I am charged with conducting the investigation of the death of Mr. Jones.
Delighted, Mr. Inspector. Lorenzo Battaglieri. I'm the architect and the mastermind behind this tower in which you'll stay.
May I photograph your shoes?
Do it. Do it, Inspector, if it'll help to discover the truth.
Thanks.
I fear I won't further your investigation, Inspector, but tell me anyway.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
I can't tell you a thing, nothing at all. It's Hubert de Noland who woke me up to tell me about this business. I've got nothing more I can tell you.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I spent the evening in my studio listening to the radio. And then I learned of Jones's death from Noland.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
Our dealings, both professional and even more so personal, were never simple, Mr. Norm. But I appreciated that he was a character and a man who had talent. I must confess that I'm more affected by his death than I had thought. That's just the way it is, you know. My artistic temperament has always pushed me to be a little bit sentimental.
To whom could this shred of cloth collected from the rocks of the Belvedere belong?
I don't know. It's... No, I know nothing at all, really.
Do these pearls mean anything to you?
No, really, they don't mean anything to me.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
It seems to me that Walter Jones wore a small chain like that.
Who normally walks barefoot on the island?
Well, all the women of the island usually do, Norm.
These footprints near the tracks of the wheelchair lead me to think that there was an argument which got out of hand.
Maybe. I'm not a policeman. I'm nothing but a poor architect.
The wheelchairs seemed to be acting strangely before skidding and falling from the cliff. Could it have been malfunctioning? Could a false maneuver have been the reason for the fall?
My God, well, that's hard to say. You know, electronic technology is not always immune to human error.
I'm wondering whose shoe prints these are.
I don't know, Norm. Sorry.
Did Walter Jones die following the first impact on hitting the rocks? Or from what happened to him when he fell further down?
How should I know, Norm? I'm no forensics expert.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
Noland is a crafty and slick man. I don't trust him, Inspector.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I can't answer your question, Norm. I wasn't there.
Do you know anything about medicine?
No, of course not. What a question.
Too bad. I really need some medical advice. Well, I will wait for the coroner's report. I get it. Good morning, ma'am. Jack Norm. I'm a police inspector, and I'm charged with the investigation of the death of Mr. Walter Jones.
Good morning, Inspector. Sonia Jones. I'm the granddaughter of Walter Jones. You know, I hadn't thought that my time in Segura would take such a dramatic turn.
If it doesn't bother you, I'd love to take a photo of your hands, please.
Your method of flirting is very questionable, Inspector. But if that's what you want.
Thanks. I'm collecting footprints, And I'd like to add yours.
Go on. I imagine this is part of the game.
Thanks.
Very well. I'm waiting for your questions, Mr. Investigator.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
It was Hubert de Noland, you met him, I believe, who told me about the death of my grandfather. Nolan went to the site to rescue my grandfather, but it was too late. And then there was the storm. He advised me not to move. And Billy and Clara, too, so we stayed here. This Baina was there, according to what Nolan told us. There's no way that she could have a clear conscience.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I spent the evening with my brother Billy and my sister-in-law Clara, Mr. Norm. It was Hubert de Noland, my grandfather's attorney, who informed us of his death.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
You know, Mr. Norm, my grandfather was a tough man. He wasn't the sort of grandpa who spoiled my two brothers and me. I didn't feel at ease with him, and our relationship has been tense for a long time. When he made the first move to invite us here, I was surprised. He was really proud, and that touched me. I'm horrified by the conditions under which he died, and I am sad. Yes, I am saddened by his death. It's odd, isn't it?
Do these pearls mean anything to you?
Pearls of no value, Inspector, like the ones worn by the indigenous people of the archipelago. No, they don't mean any more than that to me.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
I do have the impression that my grandfather wore something that looked like it. It's pretty ugly in any case. Even if we agree it's made of gold. Wait, yes, I do believe, but at the same time I'm not sure.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Lorenzo is an old friend, Inspector. We've known each other for a long time. He's a refined and charming man, someone dependable.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
Hubert de Noland is definitely a remarkable man, Inspector. Intelligent, adroit, and terribly efficient.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I spent the evening with my brother Billy and my sister-in-law Clara. We were relaxed and we all chatted. I saw nothing and I heard nothing, Mr. Norm. Sorry to disappoint you.
Do you know anything about medicine?
No.
In that case, you can't help me. I get it.
I'm listening, Inspector. I want you to know that you can count on my total availability. I have a lot of free time now.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
Sonia is a free woman, Inspector. A modern, intelligent, independent woman. She successfully managed to get out of Walter Jones's gilded cage.
Strange construction. Here are the footprints of the young Baina. Good morning, miss. I'm Jack Norm. I'm a police inspector. That means I will conduct an investigation about the death of Mr. Jones. Walter Jones, you understand?
My daughter has not spoken for years. Leave her alone. She has nothing to do with all your cop business.
If it doesn't bother you, I'd love to take a photo of your hands, please. Thanks. This finger with a broken nail makes me strangely think of the tip of the nail that was left embedded in old Jones's face. Excuse me, just one question. It won't be too long. What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones? Where were you and what were you doing last night? What was your relationship with Walter Jones? Do these pearls mean anything to you? Who normally walks barefoot on the island? Stupid question. Baina, had you argued with Walter Jones yesterday evening? Strange girl. How did you break this nail? What is this pyramid, then? It's always sad to see a girl crying. I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia. What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri? What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland? Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention? I think you're making fun of me. Good morning, sir. I'm Jack Norm. I'm a police inspector. I'm investigating the demise of Mr. Walter Jones.
I saw the helicopter, Jack Norm. I am Collier. I have been a fisherman here forever. My daughter's name is Baina. She lives here with me. Sagora is an island blessed by the gods. Old Jones is dead, and it's sad. But he was lucky to die in Sagora.
May I photograph your shoes?
You are the boss, Jack Norm.
Thanks.
Here is the man who is always asking questions.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
Old Jones was a bad guy, that is for sure. So he had enemies. That is how it is. This man was asking for trouble.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I was in the cabin with my daughter Baina.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
Sometimes we had hatred. Sometimes we liked each other. But we did not know each other well. I do not know if I am sad or not. I would have liked to say goodbye to him, to Walter Jones. That's all.
To whom could this shred of cloth collected from the rocks of the Belvedere belong?
It is the sea that snags all this in the rocks, I tell you, Jack Norm. It comes from another part.
Do these pearls mean anything to you?
There are lots of pearls on the island, Jack Norm.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
It comes from the sea. One finds many things in the rocks.
Who normally walks barefoot on the island?
Sometimes I do.
For what reason could Baina and Walter Jones have quarreled?
Lorenzo can speak about that. I do not feel like it.
The wheelchair seemed to be acting strangely before skidding and falling from the cliff. Could it have been malfunctioning? Could a false maneuver have been the reason for the fall?
I don't know, but it is possible.
Did Walter Jones die following the first impact on hitting the rocks, or from what happened to him when he fell further down?
I was not there to see it, Jack Norm.
Do you know how Baina broke one of her fingernails?
Baina works with her hands, Jack Norm.
What is this pyramid, then?
My daughter fell from Hawita. She tried to free herself from the hands of old Jones. They both lost their balance. Jones was paralyzed. My daughter was almost dead. I took care of her for a long time. Lorenzo helped me. She has recovered now, but she will never speak again.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
No one can control Sonia. Sonia is a strong and free woman, like Sagora.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Lorenzo is a good man, Jack Norm. Lorenzo helped Baina after the terrible accident. Lorenzo has always been obliging and good with Baina and Colio.
What can you tell me about your daughter?
Baina is Colio's son. And Colio is willing to break Jack Norm's head if Jack Norm says bad things about Baina.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
I do not like judges and lawyers who are like gods, Jack Norm. Gods alone should be gods. And I like policemen worse still than judges and lawyers, Jack Norm.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I don't know. I spent the evening in the cabin with Baina.
Do you know anything about medicine?
No.
In that case, you can't help me. I understand.
Correct match. Correct match.
These pearls look alike. They're from the same necklace. Baina's necklace.
Correct match.
Just one question. I won't be here for long. Walter Jones gave this to you, didn't he? For what reason? Not very talkative. How did you lose your pearls close to the place where Walter Jones fell? Opportunistic muteness, isn't it? What do you think of Colio? I need you to enlighten me on a point. What is this gift hiding? Why did Jones try so hard to secure you and your daughter's future?
Jones was in love with my daughter, Baina. I agreed to give him my daughter, but he wanted to have her before marriage. He called spirits of shame over me. Jones told me he wanted to give Baina all his wealth after his death. Even so, I told him one had to wait so that the evil spirits could pass far from here.
Walter Jones gave this to Baina, didn't he? What were the bonds that connected them?
Old Jones gave it to my daughter. Baina can never speak again because of him, so he gave her gifts like this.
According to you, how could Baina have lost pearls from her necklace?
Baina walks often. Baina lost her necklace, that is all.
It seems that Baina accompanied Walter Jones to the Tortoise Belvedere, but she would have been careful not to leave her footprints if she had deliberately planned to kill Jones.
You should not say things like this, Jack Norm. Baina did not kill old Jones. Baina is innocent.
Allow me to doubt that. I'm hoping to ask you some questions. Excuse me, I am distracted. I have what I need. See you later. Jones really wanted to make this tower into a super luxury hotel. If I believe this letter, Colio had Jones in his pocket.
Hello? Anyone here?
This place is disproportionate. This could be useful. I will certainly be able to use this for something. Lorenzo Battaglieri's office.
Correct match.
This piece of cloth was ripped out of this gray vest. Lorenzo Battaglieri's vest. I have to ask Lorenzo what this machine is used for.
Please do come in.
It won't take too long.
I have some work to wrap up before tomorrow morning, but take a seat. Go on. Ask me all the questions you want. Feel free.
May I photograph your shoes?
My shoes? Well, go ahead. I doubt that'll be very useful to your investigation, Inspector.
Thanks.
I'm awfully sorry, but I've got things to do.
I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
I don't know anything about this. I can't tell you anything.
What do these gifts from Jones hide? Why did he want to assure the future of Colio and his daughter?
I don't know anything about this. I'm sorry.
Well, this is very impressive. But tell me, what sort of relations did Lorenzo maintain with Jones?
Walter had a lot of respect for Mr. Battaglieri when they first met. Lorenzo Battaglieri has talent, and Walter knew how to recognize and reward talented people.
What did Lorenzo do after having received orders to continue the construction from Jones?
Well, Mr. Battaglieri has an artistic temperament and is slightly whimsical. But he is also a servile and obedient man. He never dared to question an order from Walter Jones.
I wonder what Lorenzo did after receiving new orders from Walter Jones asking him to stop the construction.
Lorenzo never questioned an order from Walter Jones. I can confirm that, Inspector.
Sorry, but I understand nothing about architecture. I would like to have some things in this sketchbook explained.
I believe you should ask that question to the interested party, Inspector.
In this document, a trial against Madiva Company is evoked. What is it all about exactly?
Well, it's a bit too complex to explain. Take this, read it. You'll waste less time this way.
This menu seems utterly appetizing. Tell me, what are we eating today?
I don't know anything. To my deep regret, the chief French cook left us. What a rare pearl. An artist.
This tower on this wild island, far from everything. Isn't it madness?
That's true, but this brochure was useless. I told Walter that it was very expensive, considering the use it was put to.
What luxury. For some, the world is all roses. But where did the staff go? I don't see them.
There's no place for this document anymore, as I was obliged to fire the staff of the tower. It's become a little surrealist, don't you think?
What happened to the maintenance staff of the tower after that?
Back to their homes, probably. All these people were deprived of their jobs by the health and safety inspectors from Salé, and they were bribed by Madiva.
A hotel of this size, deprived of all its staff. It's a darn problem, I'd say.
I cannot tell you, Inspector, but sometimes one has no choice. I paid the fine and the outstanding balance of all the employees, and I took legal action against Madiva. One day they'll pay for all their malpractice and corruption.
I don't understand why Walter Jones continued to construct the tower after this verdict.
Walter Jones wasn't born yesterday. He wasn't going to let himself be intimidated by these swindlers.
Walter Jones was cheated well and good. But did he appeal this judgment?
It was me who handled this case. I can prove that the judge held a share in the Madiva agency, and that the verdict he gave is medieval. That's why we filed an appeal at the International High Court of Justice, and we assure victory.
Jones was not the type to take a verdict like this lying down. What's the status of the appeal?
Judge Erickson, who presides over the Fifth Chamber of the Court of Justice, is an old friend and an eminent jurist. He will certainly return a verdict in our favor.
Walter Jones gave this to Baina, didn't he? What were the bonds that connected them?
I knew that he wanted to give the diamond to Baina Jumhu. She hated him deeply since the accident. She came out of it shaken and mute. But like everyone else, she was attracted by the charismatic personality of Walter Jones.
Can you tell me more about the circumstances of this accident, please?
It was a little less than 3 years ago. Walter Jones was with Baina walking around in the rocks. They must have fallen several meters. I don't know the details of that deplorable accident.
So what was Lorenzo Battaglieri doing in the rocks near the Tortoise Belvedere last night?
I don't know what Battaglieri was doing there, but I can verify that I first saw him take the restaurant elevator with Walter when he left just after dinner. When I was working in my office, I saw Lorenzo Battaglieri hurriedly leave the Belvedere and come back to the tower after Walter's fall. Finally, as I already told you, I ran into him at the foot of the tower when I was running to help Walter. I think that Lorenzo Battaglieri did not see me. He seemed really distraught. This man certainly knows a lot about this, Inspector. I think I already pointed out before that he is madly in love with Baina. I wouldn't be surprised if he were her accomplice. And the murder seems to me to have been very well organized.
According to you, how could Baina have lost pearls from her necklace?
Walter was a brave man. He defended himself and hung on to Baina's necklace, trying to... Good God, what a horror.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
It's gold. It could have been Walter's.
It seems that Baina accompanied Walter Jones to the Tortoise Belvedere, but she would have been careful not to leave her footprints if she had deliberately planned to kill Jones.
She's really untamed, with a limited and primitive mind. She could not have thought of everything. I wouldn't be surprised that Baina didn't know about the existence of fingerprints.
For what reason could Baina and Walter Jones have quarreled?
I believe that Baina wanted to get rid of Walter. She had planned it well.
The wheelchairs seemed to be acting strangely before skidding and falling from the cliff. Could it have been malfunctioning? Could a false maneuver have been the reason for the fall?
I'm afraid I can't help you, Inspector. Walter had the most sophisticated and costly wheelchair in the world. A technological marvel to avoid this kind of trouble.
I'm wondering whose shoe prints these are.
Aren't these the prints of Lorenzo Battaglieri's shoes? I saw him standing near this place.
Did Walter Jones die following the first impact on hitting the rocks, or from what happened to him when he fell further down?
It's strange indeed. The storm was violent that night. The wind must have made the body roll further down. What I can confirm is that Walter was lying close to the rocks. He was dead, and the weather was so bad that it was impossible for me to hoist his body. I could do nothing more for poor Walter.
Do you know how Baina broke one of her fingernails?
I never hung out in boarding schools for girls, Inspector. I suggest you ask her father. That old savage will certainly know a lot on this subject.
What is this pyramid, then?
It's an old local monument called Hawita. It's the place of the accident where Baina Jumhu and Walter both fell. A tragic accident that mutilated both of them. After this accident, Baina's feelings for Walter Jones were torn between love and hate. She came to see him every evening to accompany him on his daily walk on the paths of the island, but with everything that has just happened, I wonder if she'd not been preparing to revenge herself.
Lorenzo doesn't have faith in you.
Lorenzo is no doubt frustrated to see himself removed from his responsibilities.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
Sonia is a young woman with a lot of charm, Inspector. I admire her intelligence and her independent spirit. Even Walter himself couldn't get her to bend. And moreover, she is very beautiful, which doesn't spoil anything.
What do you think of Colio?
Oh, he's an old clown. He wants to pass himself off as a sage and play at being a ritual chief, but nobody's fooled. I'll tell you what I really think. Colio is an opportunist and a nuisance, Inspector.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Well, this architect has definitely lost my trust. And I ought to say that he no longer enjoyed great standing with Walter Jones. We discovered important defects in the construction of the tower. Lorenzo's incompetent to the point of dishonesty, Inspector.
What do you think of Baina?
Oh, that native girl's a real beauty, Inspector. No doubt about it. Her youthful charm really made poor Walter's head spin.
And how did Baina make his head spin?
Sometimes one seeks youth as one gets on in age. Baina was fresh and pure, and Walter Jones was in the habit of getting everything he wanted from life.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
Yes, I was returning to the tower to settle an urgent case that Walter had given me when I saw Baina from afar. She's a young native who pretends to be an idiot. I also saw Lorenzo, who has an unrequited love for her. This woman is a devil. She's made him lose his head.
Interesting.
Correct match.
I'm hoping to ask you some questions. What were you doing at the Tortoise Belvedere last night?
I already told you, Inspector. I saw Walter fall over the edge, and I ran to help him. I hoped he was not too hurt. Then I phoned your police colleagues about Walter Jones's death.
I'm sure I'll be back to ask for clarifications.